I got a Sundown SA8v2 that was not exactly blown but wasn't working. So this video I'm going to be rebuilding it, and I apologize for the video being a lot longer than I had originally planned, but we'll go through all the details of how I got it working again, and we'll do some frequency sweeps and test runs and stuff like that at the end of the video to see how it all turned out. Let's start with this. So I have here another package. I realized that being just about summer and whatnot, this made a lot more sense for me. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got in here. Arrived in the mail today. Oh, it's delightful. I mean, I know what we have here. You don't know what we have here. Oh, goodness. Oh, yes. Now, that's lovely. However, did not turn out as nice as the hoodie. That being said, I know you all probably really want one. So I will add that to my wardrobe. So I have here a Sundown SA8. I just finished cleaning the basket and the spider seat. I was actually a little bit disappointed. I'm not 100% sure if it was rebuilt by someone or if the original assembly was done this way, but these, you can see that some of the holes have screws taken out and some of the holes have the screws still in them. And the reason for that is because these particular screws were epoxied into the basket. They weren't just glued to the spider ring so that they couldn't undo. They were glued right in. They were completely seized. Not only were they unable to be turned with the Allen key, but also with a pair of vice grips directly on the bolt. And the only way that could possibly happen is if it was some kind of adhesive holding it into the basket there. Neither here nor there. There's a lot of things on this particular sub that suggest to me it was rebuilt before I got it. Whatever. So I pulled it all apart, and as I said, I'm reusing the Sundown cone, obviously the Sundown dust cap. This is a different voice coil that I salvaged out of a different sub. It is a slightly higher, it is the same gauge wire on the voice coil. I believe it's 26. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, it's a taller winding height than the original, so it's going to actually have a slightly higher X max. I've checked it for clearance, and it can fully exit the voice coil gap without bottoming out, so I'm not worried about that. I think these little spiders will prevent it from moving that far. Anyway, I printed a spider ring spacer on my printer over there, and that will fit around very nicely. And this voice coil former literally just has enough clearance to glue it to the cone. So it's gonna be tight, it's gonna be close, it's gonna work, it's gonna be awesome. I'm just marking up the spider to put the stitched leads on. I'm gonna do double stitched. So it'll take a lot of juice. I think this was original sub this came out of, it was a 500 RMS voice coil or subwoofer. I know that the SA is rated for 500 or 600, I believe. And this is a slightly bigger coil. It's a full 2 ohm, a dual 2 ohm rather than the dual 1.6, but it's the same wire gauge. However, it doesn't have the black former. It has, or the black anodized former. It has a regular. So like, I don't know how much that actually affects the cooling. Anyway, whatever. We'll put it through the grinder and see what happens when it's done. Yeah. So the next step is to put the stitched leads on. If I go over top here, it's going to create clearance issues for the cone. So I'll have to notch it around where the leads sit, so that they don't push the cone up, because it's gonna have to sit like literally right on top of this spider to get enough glue on to hold it all in place. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. I'm 100% sure you can see this. Oh, you know, you can see the little holes that I drilled through there. Yeah. So that's where the thread will go through. I'm going to do a quick, just a demo of how to double stitch, or how I double stitch, more than one right way to do things. It's going to be really quick. I'm not going to record the whole stitching process. Like I say, I'll do one loop and then I'll do the rest off camera. And yeah, I have other videos on stitching leads where I do the whole thing. It takes too long. So anyway, that's being said, I will set up to stitch one loop and then we'll carry on with the rest later. I like to glue underneath the lead as well as over top of the lead. This probably is overkill tinsel lead for this particular speaker. This thing's like a 500 watt to 600 watt speaker. I mean, that's RMS, and everybody knows that Sundown get pushed a lot beyond their RMS. Mind you, this particular voice coil that I'm using is a full dual 2 ohm, whereas the original was a dual 1.6. This winding is a slightly taller winding. I believe it's about 1/4 of an inch taller. It's literally identical wire size. It has been pulled out of another sub. This is why I'm calling it the MacGyver build, because I'm using reclaimed parts. I can't get these parts right now. They're not available on the various suppliers I use. Anyway, what we're going to do is, first things first, we're going to take our thread and our needle, like this. I'm going to go up through the first hole from the back. Where are you here, you stupid hole? Typical man. Can't find the hole. Anyway, so you go up. This is my process. I go up, I go over the first one and leave the second one completely out of the loop. Then I go through the same first hole again. So I went up through the first hole, over one lead, then down to the second hole, up through the first hole again. Except this time I'm going to go under the lead that I already looped around, and I'm going to loop around the second lead back down to the second hole. So now I have an individual loop around each of the leads. This is the part where you're going to want to get glue underneath here, because you're going to be pulling them down into the valley here. Hopefully this stuff gets nicely get in there good. Great, this thing's going to leak all over the place. Anyway, we're going to pull that tight and pull this one tight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the first hole again, and we're going to go over both of them. So now I'm looping them together and pull them down into the valley as tightly as possible. So now it's 2 over each one. I'm going to go one more time just so that there's like a ton of stitching over top of these leads. Pull them tight on both sides so it's nice and snug. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to go from the back here and tie it. Like I say, this is the only one I'm going to do on camera. The rest I'll do watching Netflix or something while I relax rather than standing at my workbench. That is one loop. And then of course, as always, cut the extra string off. You don't need 5 inches of thread underneath there. Not that anyone's gonna see it, but it's just pointless. There it is. And then at the end, once I've done all of the loops, I'll seal up the holes top and bottom with E6000, and I will glue over top of the string as well. So it creates like a, actually I'm just gonna glue over top of it right now because I got glue leaking everywhere, but just made a mess. It's awesome. Anyway, it's E6000. Cleans up pretty easy. So that is the extent of what I'm going to show as far as stitching goes. So I just finished soldering these little tab thingies to go onto the push terminals, and then shrink tube them just because it looks clean. I probably could have done direct leads, but I didn't. I went this way instead. So I put the double leads on, stitched them, soldered the lugs or whatever you want to call those, the terminal set screw thingies, and then put shrink tube on them. Looks pretty good. So now the next thing to do is start assembling the sub. I think the height is based on centering the voice coil on the top plate, or the winding height of the voice coil on the top plate. I'm not going to go over that in this video. I've got other videos about that. You can check them out if you're so inclined. So this one is good. Take that off. So the next thing to do is to glue this spider to the former here. I was thinking about making a triple ring. I'm not going to bother. I'll just glue top and bottom. It'll be good. Next thing we're going to do is glue the spacer ring in. This one is I think it's about 1/2 inch. Can't remember off the top of my head. I printed it, yeah, 1/2 inch, so 12 mils. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this off because I don't want to accidentally glue it into the basket. Put some E6000 around this ridge, and then we'll clamp it on. And then this is gonna have to sit for 24 hours. So we'll do that, and then we'll call it a night. So the next step we're going to do is gluing this to the top of this desperately short former. Now, should be able to have enough for it to grab onto. Of course, you want to make sure that everything's lined up. Your leads are lined up with your terminals. Your surround is lined up with the holes in the baskets. This is the original Sundown cone. It is not in exactly fantastic shape, but I didn't want to lose the additional decibels that I get from the official Sundown parts. So we're going to reuse that one. And what we're going to do here is do some light gluing and then pull it off and do the rest of the gluing. So there's our, oh, there we go, our SA 8-inch cone assembly. So the next step is to shim it, glue the spider ring in place. Might as well just glue the spider or the surround down at the same time, because I don't need to get it in any screws or anything. So let's get that done. Now that the glue has had an opportunity to cure, I'll take the clamps off. Well, that's fun. This foam really compresses. We're going to pull the shims out. We still got to connect the terminals. Something in there. That's not good. Where did it go? Okay, well, where do we have here? There's a missing ring. Aha! Okay, well, we still gotta glue the dust cap on, clean it up a little, but that is almost done. Connect these guys, but I think my wife's home, so I'm gonna go upstairs. Okay, now that those are connected, we'll take a, where's my multimeter? There it is. Multimeter, it's a cheap one, probably not very accurate, close enough. See, that's getting good connections. That one needs to be adjusted, but 1.8. Sorry about that. 1.8. That's good. Terminals are good. Coils are good. Now I believe the original was 1.6, dual 1.6. I put a slightly longer voice coil in here, so that's why we're getting a bigger number. So we've got this SA8 MacGyver hooked up to a very small, very old 4-channel amplifier. I know it sucks. It's terrible. I get it. I'm working on a limited budget right now. I'm just trying to make it work. So I've got the audio feed coming from a laptop. I'm running a online tone generator. We got it set to 7 hertz, so we're just gonna hit play, see how it does at 7 hertz. So I'm not hearing any kind of coil rub or mechanical noise of any kind. We'll just give it a little bit of a bump up and see what happens. Starting to get a bit of noise from the workbench. Let me slow it down a bit, see if it... Now it's kind of getting a bit closer to its mechanical limits. Is starting to almost make a clicking sound at either end, but not quite. Suspension seems to be good. No concerns there. Let's turn down the volume a bit and do a sweep. Right down. So we're going 7. Well, definitely doesn't have any trouble playing any of the tones. This is 13 hertz. Next step will be to get it playing some music. I'm going to use the music from the YouTube library. Same one that's in the whole build video, so let's just see how it plays that. That's a bit too loud for time of day. Well, other than all the crap over there on my bench rattling, it's actually a back plate from a Alpine M100. It seems to have no issues, no distortion whatsoever. The next step will be to take this sub out. It's an 8-inch Alpine Type R. Swap this one in. There's literally about 1/4 of an inch behind from the back of the box, because the depth, the mounting depth of the SA is very close to the thickness of that box. Anyway, that being said, because the SA doesn't have a pole vent, it doesn't matter if it could actually be sitting on the bottom of the box. It wouldn't really make any difference. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but I don't think it would particularly matter. Anyway, that sub is done. I will post some demo videos of it, but this is it for the MacGyver build. There'll be, like I say, some performance demo, put it in the box, test it in my car, give it a bit more power than this little baby amp can do. But that, like I say, is good enough for sort of a preview test. There it is, MacGyver.